can we move on to apologies for absence? Do we have any apologies for absence, Steve?
I've had apologies from Gareth and from who's not well, and Sarah, who's apologised for the month really because of our IT problems. As in, she's not got broadband at all.
Okay, but we haven't heard anything from Pip then, I take it.
I have not, no.
Okay then. So can we move on to declarations of interest? Anybody got any declarations of interest to declare?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, thank you very much. So if we could move on to the minutes of the monthly meeting held on the 11th of August 2020. You've got them in your packs. Hold on. I've got it up here. Has anybody got any points to raise in relation to attendance? Apologies for absence. Clerk's report, chair's report. Nothing there, is there? Okay, then. So, are we happy to accept those minutes?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's lovely. So, if we could move on to the clerk's report, then, please.
Yeah, just very quickly, in case you've not had a chance to read it. Office opening with effect from yesterday. The office is going to be staffed 3 mornings a week, 9:30 till 12:30, Wednesday and Friday. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, visitors actually won't be allowed into the room with the door. The table's coming across the door frame, and so they'll be sort of effectively coming through like a hatch-like thing. And that's,
but I hope the radiators will be on. It'll be freezing.
Yeah, and we're going to be taking a keen note of how many people come in and reporting back to JAC on the hours, the number of so the hours might be reviewed in a month's time. With regard to the evaluation of our response to COVID, Alan tells me the report should be ready by the 25th of September as planned, so it's on target. And the final item is training. There's 2 dates I need to draw your attention to. The first is the 18th of September, which is Code of Conduct training, free Code of Conduct training by Swansea Council. And I'd urge anyone who's not been on the Code of Conduct training to attend that. That's very important. And obviously, any councillor who's not been for a while, it might be well worth attending again to brush up on that. That's Monday the 18th at 5 p.m. And there's a session, a date for your diaries is the 20th of October at 6. And that's a workshop training session on constructive debating, and that's going to be run by Alan. So it's the 20th of October.
20th of October. Okay.
So unless there's any questions, that's me finished.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
A point I brought up before, I was trying to look up some of the committees and things to get some information, just doing a bit of background tonight. There's nowhere on the website that actually gives you the name of the committee and the people who are on it. So I wanted to contact some people on so-and-so committee, but there's not. So then you've got to go into documents, to go into agendas and things, to find out whose names are on the committee, to find out who's on the committee. So somebody wanted to find out, say, who was on whatever, the environmental committee. There's no way for them to go onto the website and actually just bring it up.
Yeah, as I say, it may have been from you bringing it up previously, but the website's being revamped at the moment, and that change is something that's being incorporated into the revamp.
You said that 6 months ago.
Well, we did. Can I come in on that statement?
Yeah, of course.
We did have a meeting with SA1, must be about a month ago now, isn't it, Steve? And we came up with a number of headings, a number of plans that we would expect them to deliver on in relation to branding and information and all that. And I have asked Steve, and Steve has circulated the discussion document I think Claire, we haven't gone back to SA1 with it as yet, have we?
We have. Claire went back yesterday. Because
Okay, Claire went back with it
yeah.
yesterday. So we're just going to ask them to chase it, because it is true, we haven't seen any actual movement on that, even though SA1 said that they would move on it. Carrie, do you want to come in?
Yeah, can I ask, why is it that the office is being staffed by Maddie and Claire? Paul is doing 1 half day a week, and Steve, you're not doing any. Both Maddie and Claire have got masses amount of work on at the moment, so I'm not sure why they're being taken off what their job descriptions and their roles are to sit in the office once a week.
Well, to answer that, personally, why I'm not doing it is because I'm still shielding. So I'm not. I don't want to take that risk of going in and meeting the public. When we discussed it as a group, the other 3 were quite happy to go in and do. It's not they're going to be doing their work. Most of the time, they will be in there working. The number of interruptions is probably, if it's based on what's been happening recently in the last year or so, will be very few. So they all seem very happy to go in and do that. None of it was forced on them.
Yeah, if I can just come in on that as well there. This came out of a discussion, a team meeting, a staff meeting that was held with myself and the rest of the staff, where we discussed and explored, would people be happy to maybe open up the office for a few hours a week, because the Ostream is going to be opening up now and to help raise our presence. Something that came out from the staff themselves, that they were happy to man the office for those hours. And the issue was there, as Steve has highlighted there, that they can quite happily work from the office because they've got telephone there, they've got internet there. And this was something that was raised with them, and this was something that the staff expressed themselves. Any other issues?
Could I then suggest that along with the opening hours, we actually review that and actually look at how it impacts on their work schedule in a month's time?
Well, to be honest, that was exactly what was decided at the meeting. We would just open it in the first instance. The whole sort of point that was raised, as Steve is mentioning, we're monitoring how many people actually come in and engage with the staff at the office. And then after the month, then we will review the situation based on the situation then. But
okay, so presumably there will be a website and social media announcement that the office is now open.
It's already been announced.
Okay.
Okay.
I haven't seen it, but
it was announced today. Just to clarify on that, Steve, as well. When did the office actually open for the first time? Do you know?
Yesterday morning.
Yesterday morning. So as I sort of said, the announcement has gone out straight away, and it was handed over to the staff to organising it between themselves. What was the best way for them? Okay, are we happy with that? Can we move on?
Yes.
Chair's report. I'll just go through my chair's report now. The month of August was thankfully a little quieter than normal, with a welcome return to more social activities following the easing of some of the lockdown guidelines. In relation to my own activity, the public-facing activity of Mumbles Community Council, this has been characterised by a number of highly successful litter picks organised by MCC Environmental and Wellbeing Committee and an Environmental Engagement Officer. These took place on Sunday the 9th of August at Oystermouth Square and Saturday the 22nd of August at Blackpill. I would just like to say that on a personal basis, I found these activities very rewarding. For a long time, I found the general messiness, particularly around Oystermouth Square area, a bit of a blot on our community. Although in many ways it would be better if we did not have to do such litter picks, if, for instance, people had a greater personal responsibility that did not result in so much litter being dropped in the first place, or if we lived in a country with better public services. But unfortunately, we have neither, so it falls to the community councils such as ours to provide such litter picks. That said, following the success of the first such event at Langland Bay, it was great to see such a good turnout at Oystermouth, particularly at this time of social distancing. And it provided a really good opportunity for councillors to meet residents, talk about their concerns face to face, and actually see councillors doing an activity that people can easily understand makes a difference to their community. A large amount of rubbish was collected between Underhill Park and Oystermouth Square, and there was a lot of interest on social media about the event. The Falwen litter pick in Blackpool on the 22nd also collected a large amount of rubbish, and there was again a good turnout, and it was rewarding to see such an event raising the profile of MCC in the community. On Monday the 10th of August, Will Thomas and I produced a short video for inclusion in the website and on the Facebook page to celebrate and announce the successful completion of the signing of the lease of the Ostream Centre. This was well received by the Ostream Association and their trustees and on social media. There's been a bit of a follow-up issue with the side lease, but this has now been successfully resolved. And we look forward to developing a robust working relationship with the Ostream Association going forward. The centre is scheduled to reopen in the early weeks of September, and we will use this as a basis to open up negotiations in relation to developing the centre. There have been, in the past month, there have been 2 meetings between MCC and MCA joint working group on the 24th and the 28th of August, aimed at exploring and resolving the lease issue in relation to Underhill Park. The MCC team intend to closely adhere to the advice being supplied by Gareth Kiddy Associates and One Voice Wales consultants and our solicitors. One option that is currently being considered is that of acquiring the freehold on the park, a proposal which is on tonight's agenda. Anything in relation to that, Carrie?
Just to take this opportunity to say there will be another beach art and beach clean organised by Plastic Free Mumbles and MCC on the 20th of September at Caswell Bay. So hopefully lots of you will get down for that. And secondly, just the side lease for the Ostream. I haven't actually seen that come up for full council to look at. Is that something that's going to be happening in the short, near future?
Steve, do you want to comment on this?
Yeah, just to clarify, yeah, it's a side letter. It was to do with the insurance, because
okay.
we couldn't have both Ostream and us being insured an insurance, because that would have caused problems. So.
Right. Sorry, I thought you were referring as a side lease to the one that would be then agreed with MCA.
I thought that too.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay then. So if there are no further questions on that, could we
Question from me, Chair.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you.
You seem to be given a report back on Underhill through the Chair's report. So are we going to have a full report on Underhill through any committee or anywhere else, or is it just always going to come via you?
If you have a look, there is an agenda item for Underhill on the agenda today. I do sort of think that considering it's such a major undertaking, that regular reports on the progress of Underhill need to come back to the full council.
Absolutely. Will that be via you and your clerk's report, and your, I beg your pardon, and your chair's report? How will it be coming back to full council?
I think that will depend on what the progress is. If it's something like we're talking about today, something in relation to the lease, I think it needs to be a specific item on the agenda. If it's just general progress, I think we can cover that with the chair's report.
Okay.
Is that okay?
It will be a monthly item in one guise or another.
In one guise or another, well, yeah.
Okay.
As long as there's something to report, which most probably there will be.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Just to continue from that, perhaps it should just be a standing item on each monthly agenda, and that when there is things to report, that those reports are circulated prior to the meeting so that everybody is fully conversant with what's happening. If there's nothing to report, at least it's a standing item there. People can raise questions, you know, if they want to know if you know what's happening and what's going on. So could we perhaps have that as a
Standard.
monthly
Yeah, okay.
item?
No
I
problem.
thought
with
it, I thought it had been agreed that Underhill would be reporting back to the committee monthly. I thought that was the agreement.
that. It will be, go on, Rebecca.
It does do that as well. So
As well, yes. That's
yeah,
okay.
it's a standing item on the Community and Social Wellbeing Committee.
Right.
I'm happy for Martin to cover it in Chair's report, but proposals in normal circumstances would come through under that committee's. But at the moment, the lease issue has been moving at such pace. You can tell by the way Martin said that we met the 24th and the 28th of August. So this is a bit of an abnormal circumstance. But yeah, normally it is still being managed through Community and Social Wellbeing Committee.
And have we invited some people from Underhill to be co-opted members onto that committee so they can come and chat to people? Which I think would be a great idea. And an open way of working with them.
Yeah.
Can I come in there, Chair? I think Gareth Kelly advised that we didn't do that, didn't he? So
Who's Gareth Silly?
Gareth Kiddy is the One Voice Wales consultant as mentioned in my chair's report.
Okay, so he advised against co-opting them onto any committee so that they can come and chat.
Yeah, he advised, particularly at this juncture, that we maintain our relationship through working through the joint working group.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that at this
Thank
stage is the most sensible way to go forward.
I just didn't know, which is why I was asking. Nobody's told us anything.
Okay. So are we okay to move on from there? Can we move on to the financial report? Steve, are you going to manage this?
Yeah, thanks, Martin. Yeah, just obviously you've seen it all in OneDrive. There's some electronic payments for retrospective approval. Has anyone got any queries on any of those?
Oh, okay. No.
Okay. So you'll formally approve those payments, will you, Martin? Just to,
Yeah.
So,
I'm happy with that. Okay, and if nobody's got any objections.
can I draw your attention to the Barclaycard purchases as well? You'll see lots of Orchard project tools for that. Secondly, can I just draw your attention to the income, the bank balance, and the budget monitoring report? Those are all for noting.
Thank you.
Could I just raise one question, which is we're now halfway through the year and nobody has received their councillor allowances yet. What is the hold up with that?
The council hasn't formally approved the recommendations yet. It needs to do that first.
I thought it was approved at the AGM annual meeting. I'm sure they were.
Right. If
I
that's
mean,
the
there's
case,
discussions on the remuneration recommendations for next year, but for this year, that was all covered at the annual meeting.
the remuneration report is normally in February.
Yeah, well, it's come up. We've received it for JEC now.
Yes, I mean, I presume it was because of COVID, it was something that got overlooked. But you're saying it was approved at the annual
Well,
meeting?
I thought it was. I'm sure it was on the agenda for annual meeting, and it was all agreed that we'd carry on as we had last year.
Steve, can you revisit the minutes for that meeting and check?
Yeah, of course, yeah. We'll save a lot of time and effort on JAC if that's correct.
Well, yeah, because, you know, as I say, I can't see why 6 months in, you know, those payments have not been made.
Sure.
They should go through automatically.
Well, I'll report back to the meeting later on then. I'll have a look while the debate goes on.
Thank you.
Okay then, are we happy to move on that? So if we could move on to the draft policy on recording, photography and use of social media at the council meetings. This was brought to the last full council meeting. There was a discussion held there. There was a sort of feeling that because there was a sort of depleted attendance at that meeting, and also people wanted to have a bit of time to reflect on and mull over the proposal, that we should bring it back to this meeting. So this is what we're doing. Has anybody got any thoughts on this? As I sort of said, we had a bit of discussion last time. Rob, go ahead, but remember you're muted.
There we are. Thanks, Martin. Just to say, I think before we can approve this, we need to have a vote on whether we agree that meetings, virtual meetings, are recorded in our homes. Because I'm still unhappy about that, and I know other councillors are as well. I'm happy to be recorded in a neutral environment, but when I'm in my own home, I think it's not on. So I would like to have a vote on this before we adopt that.
Would that be an amendment that you're putting forward, Rob?
It would be an amendment to say that we're not videoed while we're doing virtual meetings.
But
we haven't agreed that we accept that we think we should be recorded yet.
But all I'm trying to say,
that's just basically voting against the recommendation. It doesn't need to be an amendment. You either agree that they're recorded or you don't.
well, I think Rob is making the point that he's happy about being recorded, but he doesn't want to be recorded in his own home. Is that correct, Rob?
Yeah, I'm happy to be recorded in a neutral position, as in a council chamber. However, as we have to ask permission of members of the public if we video them or if we take photos of them at any of our events, I feel that also the public should not be able to video on their handheld devices or photograph us in a meeting.
Okay, Pam? You're muted, Pam.
Could you get past that by saying that if anybody, for our own benefit, we can have a recorded one, but if anybody outside the council wants it, they can only have just a sound recording? Is that a way of doing it?
My own
Up on the website, could you just put a sound recording up on the website?
Okay, my own reflection on this is when I was putting together this proposal, I looked at sort of some of the policy documents that are particularly in place in England at the moment. And I am suspecting that if this is in place in England at the moment, that it'll be coming down the pipeline for us in the future. The whole idea there is about recording meetings and having them available to the public afterwards. They're talking about video meetings. If we want to make the distinction between video meetings and audio meetings, I'm sure we can go that way, because particularly within Wales at the moment, there is no specific, I think there's guidelines in as much as the Welsh Government are now recording their meetings and making their meetings available, but there is no specific legislation as there is in England. Carrie, did you want to come in?
Yeah, there is, because when the legal powers for holding meetings virtually was passed by the Welsh Government, one of the recommendations, I think, or even requirements in it, was that meetings would be available to the public and therefore would need to be recorded.
I think
but
that
they're supposed to be available within 5 days on the website.
I think
And
that
that's
was
in that legal document.
Yeah, I think that was a recommendation. I could be wrong. I'm not right.
I think it's a requirement, but I could be wrong.
Steve,
Second thing is, could I just say, if people don't want to be recorded in their own homes, they can either use another background, or they can just choose to join without the video recording.
Okay.
And then those people who are happy to have the recordings done can do so. I mean, Steve, as you can see, always has this lovely garden behind him.
Okay.
So that's a way round for anyone who doesn't feel that they want their home to be recorded.
Okay, can I bring Will in now then, please? And then...
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I agree with Carrie there. I mean, it's quite easy to get around this issue, and if you really still have an issue, then you can. I'm sure anyone can do the video from anywhere but their home. We're elected members. We've got a lot of big projects on. We've got to be transparent, and I personally think that we need to go above and beyond in these times to to show the public that exactly what we're doing, where the decisions are being made, and make it easy for them to access that information. So, I'm happy for all videos, all meetings to be recorded.
Okay, Rob, do you want to come back, and then I'll come to him.
I understand about transparency, and I'm full. I'm a stickler for transparency as well. However, when we do our normal face-to-face meetings, members of the public can come into our meeting to hear what's being discussed. They can also do this in this forum as well. What you're saying is now that by having a virtual meeting, anybody who can't be bothered to log in can have access to every discussion, whereas if they can't be bothered to turn up to a normal meeting, then that's tough. We produce a set of minutes for people to see anyway, and that should be enough.
Okay, Tim, do you want to come in?
Well, I'm agreeing with the principle in theory. I'm interested what happens. We've got some Swansea councillors here, Linda and Will. Can members of the public film, photograph or make an audio recording of Swansea Council's meetings?
Don't all talk at once.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute there. As far as I'm aware, I've seen people recording us in the chamber and no one stopped them. I don't know if it's officially, but I've seen people with camera phones.
You can just see an opportunity for mischief, which is what Rob's implying in a way, that, things could get heated or people could film you when you, whatever, I agree that we have minutes that we need to be transparent. There's nothing wrong with audio. I don't know.
Pam?
If I don't want us to do anything that local authorities throughout Wales, where all the members are paid quite well for, I don't want us to be doing anything they're not doing.
Yes.
Or they're not.
I would be happier if Steve could tell me how to put a backdrop on, because remember, it wasn't in a full council, but the camera is where it is now, because all along the wall behind me are all of David's very expensive musical instruments. So
Yeah.
I'd be very happy if, mind you, now I've said it on and just realised what I said out loud. I'd be very happy if Steve could show us how to do the backdrop. That would make me more comfortable. I wouldn't mind that at all, but I don't know how to do it.
Okay, Linda. You're on mute, Linda.
Right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Well, all I can say is that I know that people do watch the meetings that we have in council, and because there's been quite a couple of rows about it, because the Black Lives Matter meeting, if you remember, somebody spoke out and there was an upheaval because people had tuned in and had taken objection to something that was said. Whether they're actually recording it, I don't know. I think they are, actually. I think they did I think the Black Lives Matter, the Leavers, I think, did video it because they put it out. So it is happening. It is with the public. That's all I've got to say. That's all I know.
Okay. Richard?
I know that.
Whoop.
I know that with the television of Parliament, it's undermined Parliament in some ways, but I think our behaviour is far better than most of the people there. On balance, I know there's issues, as Rob says. I think those issues can be got round. So on balance, I'm in favour of recording. And I agree with Carrie and Will on balance.
Okay, I think I could say as well is that, every councillor has got the option, taken into account Pam's point and Rob's point, to, if they so wish, turn their camera off. I don't think that we can mandate people to maintain that the camera's on. or even to turn their microphones off as well. Because, you know, there has been a very famous occasion in the Welsh Government recently, wasn't there, in the Senedd meeting, where one of the ministers forgot to turn his microphone off when he was talking about the personality of another member. So Pamela's gone transparent now. She's become Europe.
How do you do that?
Yeah, that is impressive, Pamela.
Steve sent it to me, but now, so I clicked on it, but now my face is. I am now the Earth, Mother Earth come to life. But I don't know how to get rid of it.
Very Andy
There
Warhol.
we are. I'm now a tree.
I love it. No, I'm sad, Pam.
What?
One of the things we could do as well is, if we adopt this policy, we could have guidelines. We could have guidelines to go around, and before we did it live, we could have a practice run to make sure that everybody's happy. Okay.
Yeah.
Have we all exhausted the debate? Do we want to go for a vote on it? Okay.
So what are we actually voting for now?
We are voting in favour of this document that I've produced, which is saying for the recording and saving of meetings. So all those in favour? All those against? I think that's carried. Do you think, Steve? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. Welcome, Adam.
Hello, apologies.
Better late than never, as we say.
Indeed, indeed.
You're worth waiting for, anyway. Right, so just to bring you up to speed, Adam, we've just reached point 7, where we have adopted a policy for recording and photography, social use of media. Now, so if we can go on to item 8, knotweed removal. Who is this proposed by? Who is it seconded by? Have we got any background papers? Can somebody fill me in, please?
Sorry, there's no background papers because I put it on, but I've had to withdraw it.
Oh.
Because Swansea Council will only treat knotweed by using the weed killers the council don't want to use.
Oh.
So we have to find another way of resolving it. So just ignore this one.
Okay, so we just move straight on. Richard, did you want to speak to it anyway?
Well, let's not waste time. Come on.
Well, on the knotweed, there's only one chemical can be used for it, is glyphosate. The only other way to remove it is you dig down 5 meters and 5 meters either side, and then you have large controlled waste to get rid of. And the cost of it is prohibitive. That's why spraying with glyphosate is the only practical way of dealing with it.
Okay, let me not go in that. Okay. Thanks for that, Richard. All right, so can we quickly move on to Underhill? As Rebecca sort of hinted at, there's been quite a lot of movement with this at the moment, with a lot of telephone calls, a lot of meetings, a lot of emails going back and forth. So just to sort of bring everybody up to speed where we are, particularly around the lease this refers to. As some of you may have been involved in some of the earlier discussions with MCA and the lease negotiation, should we sort of say, is MCA in particular were quite keen on what they saw as a lease and lease back arrangement. I won't bore people with all the ins and outs of it, but basically our consultant from One Voice Wales and our solicitor both advised that that really wasn't a goer, and the best option for us as a community council was either taking on the freehold of Underhill or what they call a back-to-back lease agreement. Just to fill everybody in, at first MCA particularly balked at the back-to-back lease agreement. But when we explained to them that we really couldn't go forward with the rest of the proposal, or particularly put in the loan proposal in without satisfying what our advisors were advising us, and of course we're paying these advisors, so we must listen to our advisors. It was the position then between the back-to-back lease and the freehold, taking on the freehold of the park. Now, this goes right up till yesterday evening, to be honest, when I finally received a phone call from Richard Chair, who is the chair of Mumbles Community Association. And following a discussion with him, he is of the option that although they will entertain both the back-to-back lease and the taking the freehold, that they would most probably prefer us taking the freehold on the park. And considering that is the preferable advice that we've had from our solicitor and from Gareth Kiddy, who's our advisor from One Voice Wales, I am proposing to the council, the full council, that we pursue adopting, going for the freehold option. Observations, comments? Tim?
Yes, I think that's a very good idea. When I was involved in this, in the early years of this council, as you know, I did a lot of research about what other community councils did. We've got 2 on our doorsteps with much smaller populations than us, Llangennych across the Lacha, where the train crash has just been, and Benclawdd, and they have the freehold on the football pitches, the rugby pitches, cemeteries, playgrounds, and they've got assets. And what our community plan said that we needed to have some assets, and in fact Ben Reynolds specifically mentioned Underhill Park. So I think this is a right way forward for us. To have a legacy for our grandchildren and their grandchildren.
I think so. Richard?
Yeah, let's face it, people have been talking about Underhill, as far as I'm aware, at least 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah, and the rest. The current changing rooms were built by Canadian troops in World War II. Now, we are on the cusp of achieving something as community council, working cross-party, and that's the future. And I think having it as ours, us own the freehold, on the one hand, yes, it could be a bit of a liability, but it'll free our hands. If we want to do something, we can do it then without going back to Swansea. It's got to be the way forward.
I would just like to put a little bit of a caveat on this, mind, as well, is what we're talking about is exploring the option of going for the freehold. I'm under no false illusions that it might not be quite as straightforward as we would like. But personally, I think it's the best option. As I said, the solicitor thinks it's the best option, and the advisor from One Voice Wales. So let's at least give it a go. And I don't think that we've got anything to lose. The only thing that it probably will happen, it'll take us a bit of time, but then we will be in a better position, is my own feeling. Any other thoughts, observations? Will, I'll take Will and then Richard.
Yeah, as you know, Martin, I'm on the joint working group with you, and this was our unanimous sort of opinion that this was best for the council, everyone in Mumbles, and indeed Swansea Council as well. I think because it's not an asset; it's a liability for them. So we can really focus our efforts and local time and money on a huge asset. What I'd suggest just going forward is that obviously if this is a successful motion, that obviously the clerk rights to express interest in the joint working group meet with the 2 cabinet members responsible for asset transfers, which is David Hopkins and Andrew Stevens. So I don't think that's in the motion, but just that because obviously the most informed people are the best to have the discussions.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think that's a good suggestion, Will. And I think all of us, every member of the council here can help maybe with their own personal and political connections in helping us take this forward if we decide to go down this route. Like, Richard, did you want to come in?
Yeah, just if all the professional advice is saying
Yeah.
we should get the freehold, we could justify why we don't if that's the route we take.
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer.
Exactly. I just wanted to clarify that as well, is that the professional advice that we're getting is the freehold is the best option. The back-to-back lease is the second best option, but acceptable. The lease and lease back option is not acceptable in its current form without quite a bit more work being done on it. So, you know, that's why I sort of said, let's go. My feeling is, let's go for the freehold option. If it proves, you know, I'm going to say it's insurmountable or there's some reason we can't do it, then let's go for the back-to-back lease. Seems to make sense to me. Okay, unless there's anything else, can we put that to the vote? Do we go to accept? All those in favour of going for the freehold option indicate yes. There we go. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Right. Coastal Communities Grant. Can I hand over to you, Tim, on this? I know you've been doing some work on it.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I did send some information around to the members of the premises subcommittee when we discussed this at the last time. I was a bit late doing that. I mean, no one is keener than me to develop our asset base, and as I did send a brief email congratulating everyone concerned with getting the lease of the Ostream at last. Unfortunately, with the community's coastal grant, which I've looked at in great detail and even listened to a 20-minute audio-visual presentation by the Welsh Assembly Government on June the 16th. This is not what I envisaged when, you know, when I gaily said at the premises subcommittee that I'll look into this, because normally, and there was a date of October the 2nd, you just have to give an expression of interest with some ideas about what you do, how it would fit the outcomes, etc., etc. However, this is far, far more rigorous than this. By October the 29th, we would have had to go to REBA Stage 4. Here's the REBA 2020 Royal Institute of British Architects plan of work, 73 pages, which I've got, and I did send to the fellow members of the premises subcommittee this sheet which shows the various stages. So to get to stage 4, we've already got to have done stage 0, 1, 2 and 3, which include a hell of a lot of work, would involve us employing architects, giving them a brief. We've got to consult with our public to see what they'd like there after we've come up with some ideas. We've got to get the Ostream Management Association on board, because it will be a partnership. And there's no way, I did used to do this for a living, there is no way that we could do things like an engineering survey, project brief derogations, design reviews with stakeholders, agree project budget, agree feasibility studies, etc., etc., by the 29th of October. I did ring up someone at the Coastal Communities Fund Committee. I got 20 minutes of going to the website, but I did leave my name and number. And believe me, someone phoned me back at lunchtime today, and they agreed. And what I said was, given that you only launched this on the 16th of June, and there's been COVID, to get the detail they want, REBA Stage 4, by the 29th of October is impossible. And he didn't disagree with me, but he said, you know, they're looking for projects that people have been working on for some time. Obviously, we've only just taken over the lease of the Ostream. I did say that, will this happen next year again? Will we have an opportunity to apply next year because we can get all our ducks in a row easily by then? And he said he couldn't say, but he felt that due to the COVID situation, there weren't going to be that many applicants this year, and it was going to be undersubscribed, so they would probably roll the money on. He didn't guarantee that, but he agreed with that suggestion. What I have looked at is obviously the People and Places for Wales Big Lottery Fund, which is up to 500,000, and it has to be COVID orientated. but we do tick all the boxes for that, and they don't ask for a REBA stage 4. So, you know, I think we have grant opportunities. Now we're taking over the lease, but there's no point in rushing something, going at something without being able to fulfill the basic requirement they're asking for, which is a REBA stage 4 technical design by the 29th of October.
Okay, thank you for that comprehensive report. Can I bring Carrie in first, and then we'll...
Yeah, a couple of things. First, to say that I'm actually on the premises subcommittee, but I didn't receive any of this information. But that's by the by. More importantly, we have already agreed that we will go for the People and Places grant for the skate park, and therefore, obviously, it wouldn't be practical to be competing with ourselves for a second grant for People and Places. So, if that is an option, it would need to be after the skate park grant application has been completed.
Have you done the skate park application?
No, because we're still waiting for the final box ticking from Swansea Council.
Well, it's up for the full council to decide if
No, full council has already approved us going forward with the People and Places grant.
Just let Carrie answer. Go on.
Well, you're joking. Carrie's dominated this whole meeting so far. Yes, you have, I'm afraid.
Can you...
What I would say, Chair, is if there's an option, if the circumstances have changed and we feel it's better to put a People and Places application into a facility we got a 125-year lease on, surely that could be revisited by the council. Please don't tell me that's unreasonable.
Okay, can I go over to Will now, please?
Hi, Chair. Yeah, I agree with Tim.
Excuse me. Sorry, Will. Has somebody got a dog or something?
That's what I've been, or is your stomach grumbling?
Dog.
Should I just mute the thing?
I think Linda's got a dog. It might be Linda. You might want to go on mute. You might want to go on mute, Linda.
Will, sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. And unfortunately, this it does look a bit late in the day to be applying for this grant. Unfortunately, I mean, I think we need to, you know, recognise from this. I mean, obviously, Carrie and Tim have got extensive experience with grant applications, so I think obviously we need to utilise councillor experience when we can. But I think all these grants really should be officer-led, and maybe even with the project manager, you know, to ensure that these things are actually pushed forward at the sort of pace they justify, really. So when we appoint project managers to tasks like skate park and Ostream, hopefully Underhill, that sort of thing, is that, you know, part of the job remit of a project manager is to research and liaise with councillors and officers on grants. I just wanted to drop that in as my sort of thinking, really, while the opportunity was there.
Yeah, thanks for that, Will. Rebecca, did you want to come in?
It was just to highlight the conflict that Carrie's already indicated with the People and Places. I mean, I don't know whether do all grant applications come to full council so that we can make sure that there isn't ever a situation where we're competing with ourselves, or is that something that JEC would be able to coordinate? Because, you know, it's fortunate really in a way that it's been brought up today so that we haven't got two councillors going off on parallel tracks where ultimately they were going to come into conflict with each other.
Yeah. Adam?
Yeah, just to say that I think best practice would be for the project managers to do this going forward. However, with a realist streak, time is of the essence. We do have two people here who are really good experience with grants. So being realistic about it, as time is so prevalent, I don't really have an issue with councillors doing it on this occasion, but it's perhaps a lesson to learn. I do bow down to the superior knowledge of both Tim and Carrie, and if they believe that is not advisable for us to go for two grants, I respect that. But can I ask, why is that the case? Are we really competing against ourselves? Was there multiple opportunities for multiple grants? I don't know. That's an honest question which I'm putting out there.
Okay, Carrie?
Yes, I can answer that because obviously I've had extensive conversations with the grant officers at People and Places. Not only are we in competition with ourselves, we are in competition with anyone else in the Mumbles area who applies for People and Places grants. they use geographical location as part of their criteria, and if there are 2 grants from, as is the case at the moment with Underhill, which is why in a way it's helpful that the skate park one is a little bit delayed, because that will enable the Underhill one to be kind of ticked off first, and then we can come in after that. But no, they would not consider giving 2 grants to the same organisation within probably 2 or 3 years distance from each other because of the demand on the funds.
Okay, anybody else want to come in? I would just like to sort of say, and I think, you know, following the discussion, particularly I think that Adam and Will were talking about there, I do think that it makes sense for us as an organisation to involve our staff, particularly project managers and, you know, people like our RFO, for instance, in helping us coordinate these grants and making sure that we supervise and ensure the quality of the grants going in, and just in making sure, because obviously our officers work across committees, they're not working in their own individual committees. So to my way of thinking, it does make a lot of sense to, particularly as we employ project officers, to have that as part of their job description, that they will be exploring additional possible funding sources and to coordinate any funding grants that come in from Mumbles Community Council. Because again, as Carrie is saying there, it doesn't look good on us as a community council if we're putting in 2 grants to the same pot. Because one of the things I found from writing grants, particularly in relation to research grants, it's very important that you have the right grant going to the right person or something that they want to fund. Like, Pam?
I was about to make the point that we have to make sure, I think project manager is a great idea, but you can see from the comprehensive answer that Carrie just gave, we have a great level of expertise already from a councillor and 2 councillors. Just to make sure we work together, they work together with the project manager, not excluded from it.
No.
We don't waste the expertise we have right inside the council.
No. Yeah, that's the point I'm making, really, is that I think it's just very important that the individual councillors work with the staff that we have and the project managers.
Just to come
Tim,
back briefly on
Tim.
that, you know, I was responding to my remit, which was looking at the Coastal Communities Fund grant, and because of the very tight technical constraints they put on it, we're not able to. All I said was we would have more chance. There's no on the Coastal Communities. I wasn't proposing we would do it. I didn't know anything about the situation with the skate park and how far it's gone, because, you know, that's something coming up under the next ITER agenda. The Premises Committee haven't been kept informed of that. But we need to sort these matters out, and yes, you cannot put 2 applications in from the same organisation, but I still stick by, you know, we've got to look at the one where we feel we'd have most chance of success.
Well, that's something what we don't talk about.
Yeah, Martin, can I just come back on some of you, as a group, you're sort of kicking yourselves about doing something you've not done. I mean, as Tim says, he was looking at the Coastal Communities Grant, which is a separate pot dealt with differently. I'm not aware of this council have ever in the past applied for the same pot of grants for 2 conflicting things. It's just
yeah. Well, I think that's what we're talking about, and make sure that we don't do it in the future as well.
But what yeah, there's lots of things you could make sure you're not doing in the future that you're already doing. That's what I'm saying. You're already doing it. It's not a problem. It's one that you've engineered tonight.
We're good at that.
Yeah, sorry, can I just finish off by saying we do actually, with the skate park, have a very strong case with my discussions already with the grant officer, and the information that we've already given them, because we have already put in obviously the expression of interest. They are very positive about our chances of getting that approved.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, so are we happy to move on that, in as much as we're not going to pursue the Coastal Communities Grant at this period of time, but we'll keep it in mind maybe if it comes up next year. You're all in favour of that? Yeah, okay. Okay, so if we could move on to item 11, that's correct. Recommendations made by the Economic Wellbeing Committee. Item A, that the premises subcommittee becomes a standing committee of the council. Anybody got any particular thoughts on that? Rebecca, you want to come in?
Thanks, Martin. So I attended the premises subcommittee last month, as I said I would, just to raise the issues that I suppose are particularly pertinent to Community and Social Wellbeing Committee. And this proposal kind of came out of that discussion. I think it will help in terms of every committee having equal access, if you like, to the premises subcommittee, an equal footing in terms of the way that we work together and communicate. So I'm in favour. I am aware that there is overlap between the terms of reference of the premises subcommittee and the terms of reference of Community and Social Wellbeing Committee. So I was going to propose that the chair and vice chair of both committees just do a quick review of that before the next full council to resolve that overlap so that there's no conflict or confusion.
Okay. Tim, did you want to come in?
Yes, just briefly, yes. I'm just backing up what Rebecca said. She attended the meeting. We hopefully reached a rapport. Whatever's happened in the past is the past. We want to go forward together and knowing what each other's doing and putting the maximum focus, as we've just discussed, what might happen with Skate Park or Ostream, into the one which the council has prioritised and we think we've got best chance of getting a result in. So the obvious way is for the premises committee to be fully integrated, as the other committees are, into the decision-making process of the going straight to the full council.
Okay, thank you for that. Will?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think it's important for premises subcommittee. There's obviously some big things happening with regards to sort of leases and premises issues. So I think it makes us more nimble as well as being tidier, because obviously when we're trying to do things quickly, sometimes having to put things through another committee can take up to another month, sometimes even longer. So I think there's numerous benefits. Rebecca at the meeting, she brought up some valid concerns, and I think happy to sort of discuss those and make sure that everyone's happy moving forward with the remit of premises and other committees when it comes to discussing leases with those other committees' interests in mind. So I think we can all work something out which will benefit everyone, and I'm happy to discuss that with everyone.
Okay. Carrie?
Yeah, yes, I have no problem with premises becoming a standing committee. It's interesting that the people who moaned most loudly about there being too many committees are now wanting to have another committee, but that's by the by. But what I would want to suggest is we're in danger of different bits of the same project ending up being done by different committees. I would think that what we really need, if we've got major projects in exactly the same way as we have for Underhill, that we actually have a working group that actually deals with everything to do with that specific project. Because somebody negotiating the lease completely independently of another committee doing other parts of that same project are just going to cause huge confusion. So it would seem logical that when we have something like the Ostream, which we have a working party for, Underhill, which we have a working party for, that we follow that model with other major projects, and that there are people who are relevant, whether it's from premises or because of their expertise or whatever, that actually run that project and report, perhaps like Underhill, directly to full council.
Yeah, okay. Rebecca?
Just to respond to that, I think I would just want us to never again use the phrase completely independently. One of the points that I raised at the premises subcommittee is exactly that risk. that if leases are being dealt with by premises, then the people who are the drive and the energy behind a particular project, if they're excluded from that process, then you lose all of their expertise and all of the working knowledge that they've built up over the time they've been involved in that project. And so there was general agreement, I think, across premises subcommittee members that that wouldn't happen. It would be very much in tandem with the people on the relevant committee that are involved in the project. And I think I'm not worried about that. I think across council we're getting better at working across committees and breaking out of our silos a bit. And I think making premises committee a committee that reports to full council will actually help with that, because otherwise, as Will says, you've sort of got a third player in the room, which is the standing committee that premises reports to. Different projects are probably going to end up with slightly different models depending on the stakeholders and partners around the table. But let's just not it be in the mindset where anything is happening completely independently of anything else. Right. That's not how we should be working.
Okay, Will, did you want to come in as well?
Yeah. Sorry, just my audio cut out then, so I missed a lot of what Rebecca said. But I don't want to be too long. But just a solution that might help really is when a motion goes to council, that you could have recommendations from that committee and also recommendation underneath from premises. That might be a way around it. Just an idea.
Yeah, well, I do think this is something that needs to sort of be worked out in the wash. And like as Rebecca said, if some discussion can go on between the chair of premises and the chair of community, then I think that would be a good way of ironing things out. Cara?
Yeah, just really, just sort of to reiterate that, you know, the difficulty is that there are things and have been things and still are things that nobody really quite knows what's going on, because, you know, we don't get, I mean, Underhill, you know, we haven't actually had a full report of what went on at those meetings on the 24th and the 28th. What we don't want to do is find ourselves in the same position where things are being done and, you know, leases are being discussed, and the committee that's actually driving that project forward are relying on someone to give them bits of information as we go along. So I think we have to make a commitment that if we are working on a project that may have different elements being dealt with by different groups, that we absolutely have to have those groups working together. So if premises are doing anything that is related, say, to the skate park, that is done in a joint meeting with the relevant community and social committee meeting. It's got to be done that way. You cannot have premises meeting and discussing leases that are completely separate from the work that's being done on that project elsewhere.
But on the same note, it's pointless having these sort of subcommittees, these working groups, if these working groups are then reporting back every little minute to the rest of the council.
No, I agree, but they do need to report to the committee that's driving the project.
Yeah, and the most salient.
And ideally not report to them, but actually work with them.
Yeah. Tim?
Well, I just wanted to reiterate Cara's point from a different perspective. Yes, of course, we want to work together, and the terms of reference to the premises committee, as written by Carrie and myself and the others approving originally, haven't been adhered to by the other committees. We've got no idea of what's happening with the skate park or with Underhill, the social work. So that's what happened in the past. So what we're going to do in the future, as Rebecca says, is work together, and let's get the two chairs and the two vice chairs together and agree on terms of reference. And that's what we need to do and have that. So we don't need to be discussing this ad infinitum. It's about working positively together in the future.
Yeah. Okay. So, Pam.
Last question. Last point. The reporting back is important. Like, I'm trying to look up things for today's meeting, and like with that subcommittee, the last report on the Internet Plus is from last February. Apparently there's been a meeting since then, but there was no report on OneDrive yesterday, and apparently it was only okay this morning. So yes, but you need to be careful to keep full council informed about what's going on. If it's only just by putting the bare bones up on OneDrive really promptly so people can keep up.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. We do need to maintain the OneDrive a lot more comprehensively than we are at the moment. So saying that, are we happy to accept this recommendation? All those in favour, can we say? There we are, that's accepted then. Okay, moving on to the Austrian consultation. That our placemaking consultant be asked to undertake consultation with the Austrian Association, councillors and other stakeholders and members of the community as per the wellbeing budget. Anybody want to talk to that? Was it Carrie?
Just
do you want
to say, I assume that this is following on from the previous decision. This will actually be something that now comes under premises, because it's obviously a, you know, something that is fundamental to the terms of reference of the premises subcommittee.
Yeah, well, there is also, as we know, a subgroup that is constituted for taking forward the Austrian initiative. So we will be working with them, and particularly we've already got the tender out, haven't we, Steve, for the placemaking consultant. Am I correct in that?
Yes, God, yeah.
So, you know, when that group meets and they have a meeting, because it has been a bit difficult, as we know, with the COVID thing, and particularly some of the restrictions that the Austrian Association people have had in taking that forward in relation to meeting them. So it's just a case of really agreeing to take that forward in consultation and in partnership with the Austrian Association and other relevant stakeholders. Will?
Sorry, I hadn't actually finished. What I was
sorry.
trying to say was, can we get an agreement that this is exactly the sort of thing, and in this specific case, that this now comes under the premises committee? There's no point in having a premises committee if things to do with premises are still being dealt with somewhere else.
Well, no, but it will be dealt with the premises committee. But
Yeah, well, that's what I'm asking,
yeah.
that's an agreement that this transfers across.
And in exactly the same way that you were saying before, it will be the premises committee working with the working group that works with Austrian as well. Will?
Yeah, just to point out, obviously we've got budget for this. It's I think it's in Steve, I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong. It's in the economic, or no, it's in the premises already. This whoever is given the contract to be our placemaking partner will obviously we have to that budget to utilise. I'm sure. I think we go back to council probably. I don't know, Steve, but I suppose if the money's already allocated and we've got a contractor, then I suppose I'm not sure if it has to come back again. Actually, I'm sure you correct me there. But we got a real opportunity here to make the whole community feel part of, you know, what actually happens on that site. And I think a good public consultation done fairly swiftly, you know, will go a long way to making everyone aware of what's happening and feel part of that. And I think that's a big part of public consultation, is not just consulting with people, but obviously making them feel part of what actually happens there. So, you know, obviously one of the people who put this forward, so really excited about it, and hopefully it'll really put a rocket up what actually happens there and, you know, push this project forward.
Okay.
Yeah, can I just clarify something, a bit of information on what Will's saying? Yeah, I mean, Will's absolutely right. This was before the budget for this year was done. We got a quote for doing the works, which turned out to be 7,375. So a sum for that amount has been put aside already in your budget for this year to do this work. So I presume when you pass this, you're passing that this work be done at you know, expecting to pay in that region of the money set aside.
Okay. Anybody others? Okay, so can we put this to the vote that this recommendation is accepted? All those in favour? Okay, moving on to the next thing. Item, questions to the chair of the Economic and Wellbeing Committee. Any questions?
Sorry, I'm not sure if actually it's economic or whether it's cultural, but I was
thought thinking that as well, whether it's just going what's written on the piece of paper.
Yeah, no, it's just the question I'm going to ask. I'm not sure if it's economic but I was just going to ask about Southend Gardens, which officially I believe with our agreement with Swansea Council was going to end possibly this weekend. What's the position with that? Are we going to continue? What's happening with the chairs, the umbrellas? You know, and I suppose my main concern is that at the moment we are paying for security, which is quite a significant amount. It's £550 a week. You know, are we still going to be paying that going forward, or is this something that now those businesses should be looking at taking on for themselves if they want to carry on beyond now?
Ian, have you got anything to come back with on that, or?
Well, no, I'm actually not in a position to answer that question. That is something that there are rather good points, and I would suggest we ask the clerk to look into that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any documentation as to the tenure of the use of the Southend Garden. There may have been a date made, but whether that was a binding one, I have no idea. So I can't help you there, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Steve and then Tim.
Yeah, just to come in there, I mean, I can't remember the agreed date, but once that passes, there's no authority to spend any more money. And since no one's come back to this council and said, can we carry on, then the funding will stop at that date.
Yeah, it was 7 weeks, I believe, which I'm fairly certain may have already finished last weekend, or if not, it finishes this weekend.
Okay, Tim, do you want to come in?
Well, just the information, I was down there on Sunday night and I spoke to the security guys and they were finishing then. That was the last night, Sunday just gone. So the security guys aren't there anymore, but obviously the tables are there.
Yeah. Okay, Adam, do you want to come in?
Yeah, it seems a natural time to end the financial agreement. However, I think it has been a big success.
Yeah.
And even if we don't financially contribute, is there a way we can ensure that some of this returns next summer? Even some of it continues in the winter. It may be hard, we know, but how do we transition and prolong this? Because I think it's been a big success. So it may be that we don't have a financial relationship with them, but I think if we can help promote and extend, we should.
Okay, Rebecca and then Pam.
So just offer an answer to the question of how could we continue or extend. So it was Miles who was originally with the clerk arranging the agreement with Swansea Council for use of the gardens, and it sort of fell under the COVID response. So I'd suggest probably the first step is to ask the clerk to just ask the question: can we leave the tables there? Can we keep it going? Acknowledging that we won't be paying for security, but as you say, it has been a big success.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think security have been involved in busting any major brawls down there. So I would hope it's viable to continue, and we'll just keep an eye on whether, you know, the changes of the season mean that it's not as popular and we do it on a seasonal basis. But for now, I'd say leave it be, leave it go.
Okay, Pam and then Richard.
Someone mentioned Christmas. It'd be great if we, in the weekends running up to Christmas, we try to do it like a German market, and try and get that organised, where people go out down for a beer and a frankfurter or whatever. So could we talk to the Numbers Trade about that? It usually starts the last weekend of November, and just take it forward every weekend up to Christmas, and that might really boost trade for them down at that end. It is just an idea.
Good point, Richard.
Yeah, I agree with what Rebecca said, and what Pam came up with the German market idea, brilliant. We've got a good model there, and it's got to be repeated next year. However, how about by the castle? Is there potential there as well? Just a thought for next year.
Well, that's
We've got work too.
I think all those things we can look at. Carrie?
Just first, just very quickly, not a German market. Surely we should have a Welsh market. But yeah, just to agree with Rebecca, if as long as Swansea Council are happy for us to leave the tables there, I think it's been a fantastic success. And if people are still using it and are still happy to sit out, even though the weather's getting cold, you know, yeah, I can see moving it to the castle. But the point is, it's those businesses on Mumbles Road that are using it. And I think we have to recognise that and make sure that those businesses, if they want to, can carry on using it. And maybe the conversation needs to be had with them as to whether they want to continue to be actually servicing people sitting out in Southend Gardens.
Okay, thank you. Richard?
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of closing the gardens at the bottom and opening up at the castle. I was talking about doing both at the same time at some stage.
Okay. So can we just sort of take this then as a recommendation that the clerk will look into the current situation as to how we can maintain the current provision, and maybe bring this back to the next council to look at how, taking on board Pam's point about maybe how we can maybe continue this to Christmas. And also, I've had this raised with me a number of points. At times I had it raised with me when I was out collecting the rubbish down in Austrian about it would be so good if we could have it again next year. So should we have that as a resolution that the clerk looks into that? Is that right, Steve?
No, it's not. It's not.
No.
I'm quite happy to look into it and report back to the committee and so on. But it's not on the agenda, so you can't do an official resolution.
Okay, because there's a question. Yeah. Okay. If we can just we can think about getting it onto the agenda for the next.
Of course, everything will happen. It's just not a formal resolution.
Yeah, you have a formal resolution. Okay. Right. So that was the Economic and Wellbeing Committee. Now on to the recommendations for the Culture, Tourism and Wellbeing Committee. So that's Rob. Fashion Show, do you want to talk to this? You're muted, Rob.
Muted, Rob.
Thank you. Do you want to read them out, Mark? Because my agenda is on my iPad, which I'm looking at you on.
No problem at all. Due to the COVID-19, it has not been possible to arrange the planned events during 2020-21. However, it was felt that the committee could arrange Mumbles Fashion Show on a reasonable budget once the Welsh Government's rules in relation to large gatherings allow. So the recommendation is that the budget of £1,500 be set aside to arrange a Mumbles Fashion Show during 2020-2021 when guidelines allow it. To make the event viable. Have you got any sort of idea what sort of time you were looking at, Rob?
Again, Mark, it just depends on the guidelines. We were hoping to do 2 a year, one in the autumn and one in the spring. So local traders of especially the independent shops can, show their new wardrobes for the seasons, get Lara to do the hair or whoever to do the hair, use local people to model and just get a bit of community spirit and help the shops and the traders as well in that way.
Yeah.
We think of using the cricket club as a venue. Okay
then. Yeah, I was just sort of thinking, things all looking a bit dicky at the moment, aren't they, as well?
Yeah.
So any other thoughts on this? Any observations? No. So are we happy to agree it? Are we happy to?
Yes.
Yeah, that was nice and straightforward. Righto. Festoon lighting. Recommend that festoon lighting be erected between the square and Verdi's at a cost of £26,878. Comments, observations? Rebecca.
Question. Has the budget been identified for it? Because it's a large amount. And is it taking from something that's not been possible because of COVID, or?
Let me get my glasses. I need to see.
Chair, there's a report that's in OneDrive. Is it worth me sharing it for those who?
Yeah, it's about it is, isn't it? Fair play.
Yeah, there is a report on OneDrive.
Yeah.
I mean,
Report on OneDrive, it's just a list of figures, so it doesn't give us much more information, really.
It gives you figures, it gives you some notes as well.
Stone lighting.
It doesn't actually say where it's going.
it does, from
Where?
the Square Birdies.
Along the prom.
Yes.
All right, so.
No, it's not. Sorry, Rob.
Yeah, there's a
to
map
clarify, it's not along
which
the
shows it.
prom.
It's
Yeah.
on the road, isn't it?
On the road.
Yeah. So it's not on the
Ah.
prom.
It's
Yeah.
on the road, not on the prom.
No, it's on the road.
Would it perhaps be better on the prom?
How is it going to get past the tennis courts? On the trees?
Shall I clarify? Because the reason it's not on the prom is because of the works on the seawall that are.
Oh, yes.
Okay, fair enough.
The whole shape of the
Fine.
prom may have changed,
Yeah.
you know. So.
Okay.
So is it going along the pavement then?
Yes. It won't be on
Alright.
the
Pam, if you remember,
phase
Sorry,
One of-
Steve? I can't find a map.
so if you remember, because you're a member of the council, I think at the time we paid for those nice new blue
Yeah.
lamp standards all the way from
Yeah.
Bodmin Newton Road to Verdes. It's along those on the seaward side.
On
Can
the
I,
inside of
ask
the
a
prom?
question?
No, on the
Well,
side of Mumbles Road rather than on the shop side.
Yeah, so the idea of this, Rob, is to actually light the prom better and it to look aesthetically pleasing, yeah?
It's to light the road better, really, to just make Mumbles more alive, and especially we can use it at Christmas. We can use it in the winter months as well to attract it. It's basically, well, phase one of what we'd like to do with lighting up Mumbles. I mean, the next stage would be the cliff. Where the witch used to be in the cliff, down by the pier.
Yeah.
So we'd have the cliff with
I don't actually remember that. I might be a little bit younger than you, but I've heard about it.
Heard about it, yeah.
I have. I've heard the myths and the legends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rob. So just to clarify, you said it's to like the road. Steve said it's on the prom side.
No,
So
it's on the road side.
On the
on
road
the road side.
So
So,
just
right,
to clarify, Will, I said it's on Mumbles Road, but rather than being on the side where the shops are, the pavement with the shops, it's on the lamp stand.
On the other side. Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
seaward side.
sorry. Right,
Prom-
got you. Yeah. Okay. So is this to double up as like Christmas decks as well? Will it be, because I know obviously that
as well.
from there down to the Verdes it hasn't got Christmas decks, and we brought that up a few times. Will this, be part of that, or is that something different again?
Used as that as well, because the quote we'd like to go with is from Philips Electrical, who do our Christmas lights anyway. So
Right.
they'd be the ones looking after everything then.
This is permanent though, yeah?
They guarantee it lasting for, I can't remember how many years, but I mean, the ones we've gone for are the ones which are more likely to stand up against the wind and bad weather and stuff like that. I mean, nothing's permanent.
Just
Semi-permanent, yeah. Okay, and just one other question. What do they actually look like?
Baubles.
Baubles.
Little globes.
Oh, like little balls, yeah?
Yeah, little balls.
Okay, all right.
just to
Rob?
Can I come in at some stage as well?
yeah, the trouble is I can't see anybody at the moment.
Neither
Because,
can I.
Yeah, can you take that thing off?
yeah, can you take the thing down?
Has everyone read the various recommendations?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It explains about, you get 50% more bulbs for 10% more money, and so
Yeah.
on. So it is worthwhile noting.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Oh,
Steve.
Just say something.
Right.
Can I just ask?
Can I
Rob
bring
to just-
Linda in? Yeah.
Sorry.
Hi, Linda.
Hi. It's just that I was losing power, so I'm only just back on. So can you just briefly say something about what it is that we're going to have along the front? Are we going to have festoon?
The little globes, balls,
Yeah.
can be lit from the square going to Verdes, and it'll be on the
Right.
pavement on the opposite side. So
Right.
the prom side of the pavement, but on the road, but on the pavement.
Okay. Right,
Okay.
okay, got it.
Can
Yeah.
I bring Richard in now then, please? He's been waiting
Yeah.
patiently.
It's a case of Mumbles can then become the Blackpool of the Welsh Riviera. Okay? We can claim a rightful place. Okay. And let's face it, that part of Mumbles does get neglected a bit because everyone goes up Newton Road, but not so always down there on an evening perhaps. At certain times of the year then, it'll encourage more people to come to Mumbles when it's quiet and thinking, oh, have you seen the lights in Mumbles? Let's go down there. It could be the Mumbles Festival of Light, whatever you call it. You know, it's a way of getting more money off tourists as well, isn't it? More of visitors and more money into the coffers of the traders. And that's what we want.
Well, it's also showing the public that Mumbles doesn't stop by the Village Inn, and there is life after that. I mean, you've got more, which has recently opened in the last year, and their new one, Elwyn's, as well. So that there are businesses down there. The Pilot, you know, I mean, it's closed at the moment, obviously, but you know, that's become a very popular place. There's reason for people to go down that end of the village now, and it's just making it nicer, making it safer because there'll be more light for people to see, and less off-putting for people to walk down there in the dark.
Okay.
Yeah, there'll be fewer muggins.
Yes.
Okay. Pam, can I bring you in? And then
If you're going to go with this idea of having
Harry.
weekend markets, I think it'd be a lovely way to lead people out of the village and up to Southend. It'd be super.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Carrie?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's just a really boring question that have you only asked Philips Electrical? And
No.
for a quote of this size, we do need to look at other options as well.
And we have looked at other options as well, and we decided to go with Philips Electric for the simple reason that we know them, they're local, their quote, although it wasn't as cheap as some of them, it wasn't so much more that it was off-putting. They know where all the power supplies are, they have the key to the power supply, and it was just a more attractive offer, really, to go with the people we knew and trusted.
Yeah, so just, you know, as I say, I don't want us to end up in any trouble. We do have
Procedures, yeah.
quotes from the other companies. I mean, maybe it might have been useful for you to have just presented those to full council so we could actually see what the options were.
I think the idea of the committee is to make the decision and then bring it to full council like happens in other committees, isn't it? To save wasting time.
Yeah.
Okay, Rebecca, and then Ian.
You're on mute, Becca.
You're on mute, Rebecca.
Thank you. I do feel a little bit uncomfortable about some of the missing details in terms of it is quite a large amount of money. I would feel more comfortable if we knew, for example, how long it was likely to last so that we could know when we might be likely to outlay again. And the other thing, Rob, was a question. Is it ever going to be feasible to do something similar up as far as the top shops? Because that's the other part of the village that gets neglected.
We did look at the top shops. There was some problems with the top shops, that the road narrows. It's having the things going between ownership, between buildings which are owned by different people and getting permission off them and being responsible if something went wrong and did damage to their buildings. That was the problem we looked at, because if you remember, we were going to look at putting flags up all up Newton Road for the end of lockdown to sort of celebrate coming out of that. And that's the reason we couldn't do that. So we decided, well, actually, let's try and draw people to the other parts of Mumbles as well, that, you know, a visitor might not be so au fait with.
I just want to, I suppose, draw on some of the feedback that we did have around Southend Gardens, which, while it has been massively successful, there were some businesses that said, well, why is MCC supporting them and not supporting us? You know, we're struggling too, type thing. So I just wanted to raise the issue of the top shops, really, for us to have that in our minds, that we need to be mindful. Yeah. There are other businesses around.
Oh, no, I take that on board, Rebecca. That's absolutely fine. And, you know, I had people speaking to me about why have they been allowed to do it? Why haven't we been allowed to do it? And to be honest, I didn't have an answer to give them because I didn't know what the answer was. And they had a very valid point, you know, if other people can use that, then why shouldn't they be allowed to use it? As for the top shops, what we want to do is try and get away from this top shops, bottom shop stuff and just say the shops. Because I think it's a bit negative to say top shops, bottom shops, as if it's some sort of competition between two ends of Newton Road. A few years ago, it was the other way around, where the top shops had all the business and the bottom shops weren't having the business. It swings and roundabouts. It's a really, really precarious time for all businesses at the moment. And we've just got to try and help them as much as we can, all of them, to, you know, be able to stay afloat and have some business.
Okay, Ian, can I bring you in then?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, just a couple of questions, Rob, maybe more than two. Yeah, I'm surprised at the costing here. I would like to have seen the other quotes that came in, I must be honest. What is the cost of running these lights? Is there an ongoing cost?
To be honest, Ian, I wish Paul was here, because he's been the one dealing with Claire on getting the quotes and all the fine details and stuff like that. So I don't know if he said anything to you, Steve?
Yeah, I've been involved a little bit as well. So yeah, just the LED lights. So the cost is absolutely minimal for electricity.
Okay, right. Okay, we can move on from that one. As to the
while I'm here, can I just go back to Rebecca's quote, because you may be asking the same thing. The quote from Philips say that the actual product itself is guaranteed for 5 years, but in seaside locations, they're expected to last 10. So a reasonable thing would be to have a sinking fund for 10 years, you know. So
yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, right. Can I? Who has control of the duration of the lights, the time that they're going to be on? How's that working?
I think just the dark. When it's dark, they're going to be on. I mean, I'm not trying to be facetious, Ian. Sorry.
No. It's, okay, you know, the bulb is a light emitting diode as an alternative to an incandescent bulb.
Yes.
I just wanted to know when the lights would switch on and when they would switch off, whether that would be considered. Is there a contribution coming from City of Swansea to these lights?
No.
No? Okay. Right. Okay, that's my...
Okay, can I bring Carrie in and then Will? Can we maybe move on?
Can I just say that this is something that I brought up about the Christmas lights last year. November, December, January, February, it's very grey during the day and the Christmas lights looked really drab. Could we possibly actually have the lights on during the day? I know it seems counterproductive, but on a dull grey day, having the lights on during the day is a real asset. And otherwise, they just look like greyness. So, you know, they're not expensive LED lights, so why not let's just have them on all the time?
I totally get your point. I know, you know, they say that Finland, say, has no daylight, but, you know, there's times when we don't have any daylight because it's just different forms of grey all day. Look, I mean, I don't know if that's a full decision, a decision for full council. I'm up for it. Why not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Will, did you want to come in?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. One thing, 2 points really. One, Ian brought up about, you know, when will the lights be on? I mean, I'm sure it's not a barrier, but definitely something that needs to be thought about more. I mean, if I had a house overlooking the sea, it's probably one of the reasons I bought the house there in the first place. And if there's a lamppost fairly near and someone's going to put some, you know, bright lights opposite it, it might, you know, go as far as ruining my view, you know. So just something that needs to be beared in mind. And secondly, I think I must have missed the reply to Rebecca about where this money was coming from. Had it come from something else that was cancelled or didn't go ahead?
Yeah, well, I mean, nothing's gone ahead with our committee at the moment because we can't do any events. So what we've had to cancel, the food festival, Mumbles Fest, there's money from Christmas parties that hasn't been spent. You know, we've probably more than any other committee have got reserves that we haven't spent. Isn't that right, Steve?
Okay, so
Yeah,
so that's
yeah,
still operating in the constraints of the budget. This is just reallocation. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
money coming from any other
No.
source.
No, this is all coming for our budget, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah.
You're on mute.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Rob. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'm personally gonna just abstain, just because I think if I was a householder, I would have liked to be consulted. But I think in principle it's a good idea. But I'll abstain on this one.
I got to admit as well is I've just got certain misgivings in relation to light pollution, because this is, we talk about the environment and stuff like that. One of the things that pollutes the environment is too much light. Now I know the seafront is an area which is lit up anyway, but I do sort of think maybe that we could give a bit of thought as to when the lights are on or what have you. But as I said, that's just a bit of a misgiving. Carrie, can I just wrap it up then?
Yeah. Sorry, just on that basis, if we could ask that you can get globe lights that the top half of them is black,
Yeah.
and therefore they just light the road and they don't pollute the air. So could we perhaps go back to Philips Electrical and ask, could they make sure that they use the globe bulbs that have the top half blacked out, so that we don't have that issue with light pollution?
I don't know.
Could you find out?
Something to consider. Ian, can I bring Ian in?
Yes, very, very quickly. It's a genuine good cause. This, I think it's a good idea. However, picking up on the business of light pollution, that is a major factor these days. They're switching off lights, not switching them on. So if one does go for it, maybe we ought to be looking at a lighting time frame to condense it. You don't want it being on all night. Maybe somebody likes to have their curtains open, but they can't go to sleep because these lights are in the way all the time. So
fair point.
Maybe you should look at it. Maybe you should go leaflet the area.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Do a bit of consultation or something like that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it could come back and bite you otherwise.
Yeah.
Right.
So can we take a vote on that just in general for the whole idea? All those in favor of the idea? Okay. So that's gone. Does the Christmas lights come under this, or is this going to be another discussion again?
Oh, it's probably going to be a different one, isn't it?
Sorry, Chair, that vote, you didn't do the carried and against. Just might be worth it if someone.
Okay.
Yeah, if I had a house, I'd want to just see what the hell's going on in that meeting, really,
So what are you asking for? A named vote or?
No, not a named vote. Just
how
a
many?
Number. Just read out a number. Yeah.
Can we have all those in favour then, please?
Okay.
Just subject to consultation, though, is it?
No,
See,
just in favour of the principle.
The principle.
Not enough information for me.
Okay, fair enough. And those against? Those abstaining? Okay. Have you got that, Steve? You've got it on record anyway.
Yeah, that's all Will was asking for, not a name.
Yeah. Yeah. I got that. Right. So the Christmas lights. This budget for the Christmas lights, I'll give it the quote provided with Philips Service Limited was presented to the committee, and the total cost of the Christmas lights included one new set of lights for West Cross Christmas trees and two new lamppost motifs was 15,600, which have been included in the committee budget for 2020-2021. So this is a separate budget, is it, Rob, than the other light?
Yes.
It's just a separate single light. Anybody got any points of view, points they want to raise on this? Rebecca?
Yeah, just a question. In terms of procurement, that's 40,000 plus then going to Philips. Just whether the RFO's advice has been sought on procurement rules around services amounting to that amount of money.
The RFO has been consulted every step of the way on this.
Okay, and he's not raised that it needs to go to
No.
tender as a package. Okay.
Rebecca,
Well,
just
the problem is,
sorry,
sorry,
go
stop a minute, Steve. The problem is with the Christmas lights, Becca, is that nobody else wants to take them on.
Okay.
We have tried, but nobody else is being prepared to take on that contract.
Okay.
Thanks.
yeah, sorry, just to underline that point, but that's exactly what I was going to say, Rob. We've tried numerous times. I think Claire's tried to meet with a couple of people recently to get quotes, and it's absolutely impossible to get someone to do the job.
Can I say something here?
Yeah, sorry, you can hardly see you, Linda, in the dark. But,
Pretty dark.
I need to put the lights red. So you
I
don't
know, you haven't paid your electricity bill, we know.
No, I just wanted to say I concur with what Steve has said. This has gone back years and years. I mean, Helen and Tony Colburn fought for years. We had meetings in the office trying to get a better quote for the Christmas lights, and we could not find anybody who would do it. We went far and wide. They went to Llanelli and everywhere, and we stuck with Philips. We're not happy with that because we feel that it's really expensive, but they're quite right. There isn't anybody else who will do it. Okay, that's all I want to say.
Can you,
Yeah, just,
go on.
I can't, I mean, you know, I'm sure Rob will explain it, but I can't actually connect 15,600 with anything in the culture committee budget, because as far as I can see, it's considerably less than that. You've got Christmas lights, new lights 1,000, Christmas motifs 1,200, Christmas motifs again, I'm not sure what the difference is, 5,000, but there's nothing that actually says 15,000 for Christmas lights. And I'm just conscious that you've already, just in this one meeting, pretty much used up your whole budget.
No, I don't think so, Steve.
Yeah, it's 45,000, your whole budget.
Well, surely the RFO should have gone through this. Pam, do you want to come in on what the point you want to make?
That point I was going to make, if the money is already there and it's already identified in the budget, then it should go ahead.
Okay. Steve, have you got any observations of this, or should we just go back to the RFO
well,
to ensure that the money is there?
I'm just having a quick look at the budget. We've got Christmas motifs 5,800, Christmas trees 7,100, new Christmas motifs 1,200, new lights West Cross Christmas tree 1,000, and inspection of the South End tree 500. So I've not been able to add those up, but that's the amounts you've got budgeted.
And does that not include the actual purchase of the Christmas trees, which is what that actual sum is for?
That's absolutely right, Carrie. I thought basically the point of the motion is to say this year they go ahead with Philips as usual, providing the normal service as per the budget.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's, you know, I'm totally for getting more Christmas lights, but I'm just not, I can't see where in the budget, and I'm just concerned you're going to come back next month and say, well, actually, we've overspent.
Well, okay, can we refer this back then to the RFO to check the figures, to ensure that those figures are correct, and that we okay it on the basis that those figures are correct?
Because, and make sure that we still have enough money to actually buy the Christmas trees.
Yeah, I don't want to spend the
no, that's fine.
meeting going through the minutiae of that. So
well, look, I'll add up those figures now and get back to you, because I've read them out, but I can't.
Well, I've had it
there, you know, on the budget, so I'll do it now.
Tim is trying to come in. What do you say, Tim?
Well, those figures that Steve just read out add up to 15,600.
Okay.
So we're only being asked to recommend what's already been agreed, aren't we?
Okay.
Yeah, except that means that we couldn't afford to buy any Christmas trees.
Why? It's in the 15,600.
Yeah.
No, this is lights. The Christmas trees are separate.
No.
Oh, this includes buying the Christmas trees.
Yes.
But it just says Christmas lights.
It
doesn't actually say purchase of trees.
Right. Well, the time is not very good then, is it? It should be all Christmas purchases.
Decorations. But
So, yeah, so as long as that includes the purchase of the trees, that's fine.
yeah, okay. So can we just make sure that that point is clarified, and then
Yeah.
we accept the recommendation on the basis that that point is clarified, because we don't want to leave ourselves short of the Christmas.
It's definitely the case. It's not needing any further.
Okay, then it's
looking at.
clarified then. Okay, but I just want to move forward on this because
Yes, we're running out of time.
Yeah, this is what I mean.
Vote.
Yeah, we're just going to the vote now. Give me the time. Yeah. All in favour? Yeah, thank you very much. Let's move on. Questions to the Chair of Cultural, Tourism and Wellbeing Committee.
Sorry, just to be really boring, I do have a question, which is I'm really concerned that we've spent a lot of money, and Lighthouse Theatre have spent a lot of time producing 4 fantastic videos about the virtual walks around Mumbles, and I don't think anybody has ever seen them because they are completely hidden. They've never come up on Facebook, they've never come up on any other social media, and on the website that you have to go through what's on and then into video should you think that, you know, there might be something there. Why aren't they on the front page of the website? Why aren't they on the front page of social media?
Right.
You know, we're now in September. People should
Right.
be
Are you
enjoying these walks in July.
Can Rob answer, please?
The question, Ron, just bombard with more. The reason that they're not on Facebook apparently is because there's some problem with the length of them going onto Facebook, or the format. That's what I was told by SA1. When you said last time about why have you got to find them through our website, I said to Claire, can we get them on the thing? She was going to send that to SA1. So, you know, maybe it's something SA1 haven't done, but I passed on your message.
They should be on.
They haven't done it. They're still buried.
Okay, thank you,
in the
Carrie.
website.
Will.
Yeah. Just a point. We've got a YouTube channel. It's not very well. It's not very well marketed or viewed, but you know they could easily go on there and be embedded in Facebook very easily.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know we had a YouTube channel. Sorry, but
yes. Well, this is the point I was going to make there, and this goes back to the point that goes back to the meeting that we had with SA1 before. We need to make these connections between these different channels, and you know we've got an Instagram account.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We talked about this.
Should
Now,
be on that.
The whole sort of thing that you're talking about there, Rob, I take the point that the video maybe is too long to go on Facebook or Twitter. But what we could do a preview that could be put on Twitter or Facebook that could lead people to the
absolutely.
YouTube. And I really do think that we need to do this, but I do sort of think this is what we are paying SA1 to be doing, to be honest.
Yep.
We're paying them bloody good money to be doing this. Like, to be honest, you know, the last meeting we had with them, Steve was there, I did think that they were saying the right things, but as I sort of said, we're 3 weeks, 4 weeks down the line now, and we haven't seen much movement. But, you know, I have gone back to Claire, we have gone back, so point taken, Carrie, this needs to be chased up, and we will chase it up, okay? Right. Any more questions for the community?
Culture.
Tourism, sorry. No? Any? Right, recommendations made by the Community and Social Wellbeing Committee. Grant application for the Friends of St. David's Primary School. Additional documents. Recommended that no grant be made to the responsibility of the local authority and limited benefit to the local community. Anybody want to comment on that? If not, then we can accept that then. Questions to the Chair of the Community and Social Wellbeing Committee. Ian?
Yeah, could I put a question, Martin, please?
Certainly. That's what
Hi, Rebecca.
Oh, yeah.
With regard to the skate park, what is the progress on the independent consultant? Has a report been done yet?
Can I ask Steve to give the most up-to-date information on this? Yeah.
It's at the moment the report's being prepared, and we've been told that it's going to be ready the week beginning the 20th of September. I think it was. So we should
Can
be
you
fairly shortly.
disclose who the consultant was?
Well, it's one firm work, but they're bringing in outside consultants. They're called DMW Architects.
Okay. Have we had any communication with them? Did anybody go with them to view the different sites, or
We wouldn't do that.
have they given a list of any sites that they visited?
Yeah, the sites have been prepared by Swansea Council, who spent quite a long time doing it, but they've whittled down the sites to 3 sites that they're asking the independent consultants to look at.
Okay. The other thing was covered earlier, actually. I was going to ask about what progress, if any, is there with regards to the grant application? And it would seem as if Carrie's been doing some work on that. Is that the case?
I haven't actually been doing work on it yet because I can't do the work until we have the report, and then I've got something to actually work to. There was no point in us putting in a grant application if the recommendation comes back from the report that it should be somewhere else. So once we get the report, once we get confirmation that that is the best site or that there is something else, then obviously we're going to go ahead then with the grant because Swansea Council will then support it.
Okay, well, thank you for that. One final question, please. How much money has been raised so far?
What do you mean raised? Do you mean spent?
No, how much money has been raised?
Raised.
You know, you had a group that were raising money. How much money have they raised?
I don't know.
No, I'm not sure either, Ian, but I'm sure we could get an update for you and let you know after the meeting.
It's just that, you know, there would appear to be a certain reliance on the on the council that, you know, that we're standing good for the money. I hope that's not going to be a negative thing as far as going for a grant, or it's compromising the raising of money. Why should they bother if we're going to pay for it?
No, I think it would be worth reassuring all councillors that the group are very active. I know they had a very successful marketing campaign with their T-shirts. They sold lots and lots of T-shirts to raise money. So that's very, very active, definitely. I just don't have a figure for you, Ian.
That's okay. No, that's fine. It's just a question. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I can confirm that the grant is for the actual build. The grant doesn't have anything to do with the ongoing maintenance, which is what the group is raising money for. So therefore the two are completely separate and one will not compromise the other.
Okay, Will, did you want to come in?
Yeah, I have made my reservations about the tender for this known on email to the committee members. Personally, I think when it came to reviewing the sites, it should have been done by someone qualified to do so in the way that they're a town planner, not an architect. I mean, an architect designs buildings. Obviously, they do placemaking to some degree as well. And skate park companies build skate parks. Town planners, urban designers, those sort of things, they are the ones that would, in my opinion, know where to lay, community assets out and things like this. So as far as I'm aware, no town or urban planners were approached for the tender, which I just, I don't understand personally. And the other thing, it seems to be that no one responded to the tender that was put out, probably because it was put out to skate park companies. And because no one replied to the tender, we've gone to Maverick and said, well, no one replied to our tender. Can you help us? Do you know anyone? And they've said, well, there's this company down the road from us that we know. Is that, I'm just asking, I'm not insinuating anything. I'm just asking, is that the case? Because, excuse me, Pam, I'm sitting there.
I thought I was on mute. Sorry.
They're both from Dorset. The people designing the skate park are from Dorset, and the people that are reviewing the site just so happen to be from Dorset. If I was you know, an outsider looking on, it just, to me, it just looks very, very strange. So I'd like someone to answer those questions, please.
Okay, just before anybody answers questions, Steve, do we need to suspend the standing orders? Are we going to go over 8 o'clock?
Yes, you do, Martin. Yeah.
Okay, so we're all happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody want to reply to Will's point, Pam?
We seem to be covering the same. I know we're over standing orders. We covered the same ground time after time after time. The trouble was with all of the information that Swansea City Council there wasn't anybody who could fulfil that. They didn't want to answer that because it wasn't a good tender that was put out. It's been rewritten and reallocated. If you go into town and county planners, don't have apparently the expertise for all of the different stresses and whatever it is that's involved in building a skate park. They are the people who are doing it. And the whole point is that we have an RFO who is more experienced than anybody around this table in doing this kind of things. He is an independent person. You've either got to trust in the integrity and the expertise of the RFO, or you don't. And that's what we've had to go in. We've trusted in his integrity, his vast experience, and his confidence that we're doing the right thing.
Could I just say, if I was consulting a town and urban planners, they would then consult with a skate park engineer to say, right, we've got these 5 sites. This is where we think's best. This is where we think second best. Could you tell us why you think this is second best or this is best? And they would get comments from skate park designers and build those into their opinion of the site. A town and urban planner is, in my opinion, the only people who are qualified, not skate park companies, not architects, and no one else. Now, the RFO knows the process. Of course he does, and he knows the process, and I've got 100% confidence in the way that he conducts tenders. I'm saying that we haven't asked the right people to tender, not that the process of the tender is anything wrong with that.
And month after month after month is trying to explain to you that you want a town planner, but other people are advising us to go. And remember, please, that Swansea City Council is perfectly happy with the people that have done it, and they are now perfectly happy with the tender that's been rewritten. So we are very much relying on Swansea City Council.
Okay, it's pointless just going back.
As I say, we do this month after month after month.
I know, and it's pointless just going back with this ping pong.
Yeah.
We don't know because I'm sorry, we've never put a tender out for this before. All I'm asking for is a reply on the question. I'm not getting one.
Yeah, okay, and you know, I can see where you're coming from, Will, as well, because this is a question about due diligence, about whether we've followed process and all this. And if Will is asking the questions that he is asking here, I am under no false illusions that there will be other people in the community as well asking very similar questions. And as with...
The fact is, if Swansea City Council are dealing with the due diligence,
please, Pamela, let me finish.
Sorry.
Right? Is other people will be asking the same questions as well. Now, the whole sort of thing, what we need to ensure as a body, as a council, is that we have got answers when it comes to this. You know, already, as I understand it, we have had a freedom of information request from Mumbles Action Group in relation to the budget for the skateboard park. So all I'm saying, these are questions we need to answer. We need to ensure with our RFO, but also with the City and County of Swansea, that the answers that we have got are fit for purpose. So as I sort of said, it's pointless us going back and forth like this at this meeting here today, because we probably won't come up with answers that will satisfy one side or the other. But at the same time, I think this is a point that's been raised. It is a point that needs to be addressed. And in the same sort of way that what we're doing with the Underhill is that we need to have an audit trail, a paper trail, so that when these questions come up in future, that we have got answers to them. And I think that's all that we can do.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we're happy to move on that for the time being. And as I said, we can come back to you, Will, on stuff like this, okay? Right. Where were we? Questions for the Chair and Community Social? That's what that was, wasn't it? we okay to move on for that? So can we move on to the items for the Environmental and Wellbeing Committee? Sponsorship of Plastic-Free Mumbles campaign. Have we got?
Right. Yes, this is something that we discussed yesterday, and what we were looking at is we felt that we talked about, and there's sort of various companies who have sort of offered to sponsor our Plastic-Free Mumbles campaign. What we were concerned about is that we don't find ourselves, you know, some company that wants to sponsor us for Plastic-Free Mumbles, and then we find out that they're actually extremely environmentally unfriendly, and we put ourselves in an embarrassing position. So what we're suggesting, if you're happy with it, that we actually ask JEC to look at perhaps having some sort of policy guidance or whatever on sponsorship, so that we have some sort of criteria to work to when we're agreeing to have sponsorship for different things. This happens to be for Plastic-Free Mumbles, but it could obviously be for other things as well.
So what you're talking about really is some generic sponsorship guidelines, ethical guidelines for the...
Yeah, you know, that we feel will ensure
Yeah.
that we don't find ourselves in any embarrassing positions of
Well-
having accepted sponsorship from a company that then turns out to be a bit dodgy.
Okay, well, surely we can just push that over to the JEC for the time being for them.
That's
to
what we
consider.
hope, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I
Chair,
think
Chair.
go on, Steve.
Yeah, can I just explain? The Environmental Wellbeing Committee was only held yesterday. So
Yeah.
that's why these aren't recommendations, they're items from
Yeah.
that. So that's why it's not written down here on your agenda as a recommendation, because it was
Okay.
only discussed last night.
Yeah, well, you know, to be honest, there's also the thing about looking at generic ideas for ethical sponsorship and some sort of sponsorship policy is something probably that we should do as a council anyway.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it can be quite a minefield, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can get involved in things which are registered as charities, which are, you know, completely utterly unethical. So as I sort of said, I think if everybody's happy, we just recommend that the JEC look at that.
Can I clarify from what Steve said?
Yeah.
So none of these points are actual recommendations, they're just information points, are they?
Yeah.
And we'll vote on them at the next meeting.
No, they're items for you to consider. So you get something as simple as that. Obviously, you can agree on that.
Yeah. Well, as I sort of said, that is just a case of passing it on to the JEC for consideration at the JEC, and for the JEC to come up with a recommendation to come back to full council with. Correct?
Yeah, that's what we're asking for.
Yeah. Unless anybody's got any problem with that, I can't see there's any problem.
No.
So if we could go on to the next point, e-cargo bikes for delivery.
E-cargo bikes, right? Yes. I hope obviously there are several documents that are included in OneDrive which are related to this. The main things that we're asking you to look at is we feel that there would be a huge benefit to our local businesses if we actually had an e-cargo bike scheme which serviced all our local businesses and which enabled us to them to use it for local deliveries. It's infinitely cheaper and more environmentally friendly than them all driving around with vans all around the local area. So what we're asking is that you support the idea of us exploring further the potential use of an e-cargo bike. The main things that we're looking at is, one of them is that we, if you've looked at the documents on OneDrive, we've suggested that we pilot this. There's a questionnaire that's on OneDrive that we test that out with 10 local businesses to complete the questionnaire, just to see whether it actually is appropriate, whether it gives us the information we want to know, whether they're coming back with reasonably positive responses. If we get that kind of positive feedback from them, that we then actually look at putting the questionnaire out to all businesses right across the MCC area.
Okay, well, I think maybe this will probably relate to our Chamber of Trade. So can I bring maybe Rob in on this?
Absolutely.
I'd just like to ask you a question, Carrie. If you owned a business and you were doing deliveries, would you want to use a bike where you had to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth? Or wouldn't you rather put everything in one van where you can do multiple deliveries in one go and save a lot of time, especially when it's taking a member of your staff out every time you want to make a delivery?
No, it's not taking a member of staff out. The bike will come with a driver.
Yeah, and
they will just go round, pick up the stuff from the shop and take it and deliver it.
Okay.
And your the business's staff can carry on doing their job in the shop.
Okay.
So it's actually preventing a member of staff being taken out.
Can I come in between the pair of you? Because I really don't think this is a discussion that we need to have at this full council. This is contained in the questionnaire. My whole sort of feeling on something like this, the point that Rob is making there could be a very valid point, but the only people who will probably be able to answer that are the businesses themselves, really. And so, maybe in the first instance, if we want to, because obviously I think with anything like this, it would be like what we talked about, I think the last full council in relation to the e-scooters. We would have to do an element of community consultation with this. I think probably the first protocol is, yes, getting in contact with some of the businesses, maybe working through the Traders Association, or what Rob was saying, Chamber of Trade, make some sort of inquiries, and then based on that we can start to take things forward. But I very much think at this juncture in time, we haven't got a real lot to go forward on in making a recommendation, other than let's do a bit of consultation and a bit of research. Will?
I mean, the only thing we could take it forward on is, that the committee looks into grants and stuff, because I think that would, certainly be my first protocol, really, because there's money for things like this, and I think it sounds in principle a good idea, but, we could say that the committee goes ahead and looks at grants available.
Yeah, because, there could be something like, again, taken into Rob's, and, I don't want to preempt anything on this, but there could be something about maybe doing something about supporting some sort of electric vehicle in the community. I remember when Carwyn was part, we had a meeting with Down to Earth, and they were talking about something along those sorts of lines. So all I'm sort of saying, I think the first protocol, more than anything, is let's do a bit of sort of consultation and a bit of research. Okay?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're suggesting, that we do some initial research, but we just are looking for a general approval from the community council that we think that this is something.
Well, yeah,
it's actually far cheaper. I mean, you can buy a bike for £4,000. An electric vehicle is 30,000.
Yeah. I was looking at electric vehicles today, to be honest.
Yeah.
Thinking about buying one myself until I saw how expensive they were.
Yeah.
So, I think, let's go down that sort of route. But I also think, as is so often the case with our council, this is something maybe that economic need to be involved in as well, because obviously it fits in with the traffic and issues like that. So again, in principle, we're happy to go ahead with this as something that we're going to explore. Are we all okay with that? Yeah, okay, let's go on.
Okay, thank you. Right, the next one is ballot bins. We would like to buy some ballot bins. I hope you've actually looked at, it's not a hugely informative piece of information that's on there. Ballot bins are actually for cigarette butts. They're like ashtrays. When for the various different litter picks that we've done, the biggest problem was the huge numbers of cigarette butts, and they're incredibly difficult to pick up, obviously, with a litter picker, and they make a huge mess, and they're also extremely dangerous and polluting if they get into the sea. So these ballot bins, you can buy them.
How much do they cost?
£230 each, and we would like to buy 3.
Okay.
And they're like bins, they're cigarette like ashtrays, but they have 2 slots. And basically you can, just to make it a bit more fun and to encourage people to use them, you have 2 different sides. So like it could be, which ice cream is best, Joe's or Verdi's?
Oh, yeah.
You know, and people put their cigarette ends in the one that they want to vote for. So we could have all sorts of different things. What we were looking at is one of the biggest problem areas is Oystermouth Square. Another area, obviously, particularly with the Southend Gardens independent food thing, is Southend Gardens is another area where there's large numbers of cigarette butts being collected. And the other place is Langland Beach. The beach is a smoking-free area, so we need to have something on the prom where people put their cigarettes out and are reminded that they mustn't take their cigarettes onto the beach.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Ian, did you want to come in?
Yes, thank you. Yes, cigarette tips are dreadful for pollution. They are plastic-based as well, and if they do get in the sea, you know, that is a problem. I just like to ask, you know, what was your view on the actual location of these bins? Who's going to determine the location? And what is going to be the policy on emptying them? And, you know, if they're going on outside a public house, I would expect the public house to provide it and pay for it.
No, they're not. They're not for outside a public house. They're for bigger public areas. We've based our views on the litter picks that we've done so far, which have identified that the key areas are Oystermouth Square, Southend Gardens and Langham Bay.
Okay, can I suggest maybe that you work this up into a full proposal to bring back to the council with
And
the cost?
what more proposal does it need than what we've already given you?
Like the whole sort of thing, you know, I'm looking at, have I missed something in the thing that there's just
you know, these are £230 each. We're not talking about £25,000 for festoon lighting. We're talking about less than £1,000
but
for 3 bins.
The whole sort of thing about a proper proposal about how much it's going to cost, where they're going to be located, what evidence you've got about where the location is, just so that we've got the audit trail, a way of why we've come to that decision, that it isn't just somebody's come and thought, oh, this is a good idea.
We have done that. I've just explained to you what it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but this is less than £1,000. We've just approved £40,000 worth of expenditure on lights and Christmas lights without a single business proposal.
Rob, calm down, please. There's no need. I know people are getting tired and getting a bit, but you know, there's no need.
Budgeted for.
Yeah.
Yes, of course it is.
Please. I will bring Pram in and I will bring Tim in, but then I think we need to move on.
Maddie was at this meeting and Maddie said she had been at the litter picks. She realised that Oystermouth Square was a key place. She had talked to the person who works in Oystermouth Square. He said he sweeps them up and tries to do something. So Maddie has done the research and she came to the meeting with the 3 areas that she thought, from her research to talking to people and canvassing across the areas that needed them most. So yes, the work has been done and Maddie's got all that.
Okay, Tim.
Just very briefly, is the 230 cost? I totally agree. It's not expensive. It's a good idea. What about the cost of fitting these? And do we have to get permission from the City and County of Swansea? Have they got to be cemented down or something? So presumably that's a small additional cost. So it's just worth knowing.
There may be, yes. And I mean, obviously that, you know, but there's no point in doing that until the council have actually agreed that this is something that's important and that we should be doing.
Absolutely.
Doing it, yeah.
Any other points of view?
If I could just come in very quickly, Chair. Carrie mentioned the beach, Langland. City and County of Swansea have a policy of no smoking on the beach.
Yeah.
So how are you going to police
That's
it?
why we want to put one
How
on
are you
the
going to police
front
it?
to remind people.
You're going to have a little box nowhere near where they're having their fag on the beach. You think they're going to come all the way back and put it in a little box?
And
Well,
really,
no,
You're in a
it's
different
to
world.
remind them before they go onto the beach that this is a no smoking beach. Please put your cigarette out here.
It's been a no smoking beach for a long time. You haven't
Well,
mentioned
about
anything
a
about
year.
that.
Rebecca, can I bring you in? Rebecca?
Yeah, Martin, I think this discussion has gone around
Yes,
down a really disappointing road. I am a member of Environmental Committee. I'm fully behind this proposal, but just in the interest of us having a civil debate about it, let's defer it until next month. I think that's extremely disappointing. But I just can't believe we've got to this point for the sake of 3 bins when a lot of work's been done, and it'll be disappointing to Maddie and the committee. But it looks like that's where we're going to have to go.
Well, this is it. You know, it's.
Can we? You know, there's obviously a lot of work being done into this, Chair. Let's slow down and slow down and just go over it again. What are the issues that I don't have an issue with it. I think it's potentially a good idea. It's a bin. It might work. It might not. You know, we've got to try these things. What are the issues that people have with not pursuing it? I mean, I don't see the point in putting it off another month, because that puts it off another month. So, you know, we all calm down. We're all happy to be here. We all take a breath and just start again.
What do you want to do?
Well, what are people's issues with not proceeding with this? What was it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The whole sort of thing. Do we know where the best place to put the bin is? The whole sort of thing about putting it on the beaches is, you know, people shouldn't be smoking on the beaches anyway.
No, it's not on the beach.
Well, near
We're not talking about putting it on the beach.
You know, probably Oystermouth Square would be a good place to put one.
I think we have a lot of trust in Paul as our sort of financial officer, and Maddie is our environmental officer, so we should probably put trust in her for that. So, you know, I'm happy with the location she suggests and happy to move forward.
Okay then. Okay then, are we happy to okay that then?
Yes.
Go ahead then.
Thank you.
Can I just, Carrie, before you go on, sorry, can I just say, Will talked about they may or may not be successful, but as you know, because we looked into this as a committee, the evaluation that these organisations done show it reduces cigarette butt litter by 46%.
Yeah,
which is
that's right,
isn't it? You know, so
that's a big. That's worth doing.
Okay, so can we move on to the next point then?
Yes.
Orchard.
The final one is the community orchard. This is a recommendation. Well, no, we can't make it a recommendation, but we would like to request that we agree the amount of money. Sorry, I'm just struggling to find the actual piece of paper. That it's on the OneDrive. This is we've already received £500, which was given to us by the environment. It wasn't actually the Environment Centre, but it was through them to buy tools and equipment to look after the orchard. But the orchard has not had any maintenance apart from Neil doing his very best to try and keep it tidy. So what we're looking for is if we can use some of we have it in the budget and Civic Amenities budget, to use some of that budget to do the work that is necessary to really restore the community orchard to how it should be. And Maddie's already started working and getting volunteers who will come and will look, you know, do the ongoing looking after of the orchard once we've got it back tidy and neat, and the tree pruning that needs to be done. Are we happy with that?
Ian? Ian?
Yeah, thank you. I walked past that orchard or orchard that was. I know there are different ways to approach these green spaces. You don't wish to have them, excuse me, too manicured. You want areas set aside for the biodiversity and everything else. I am in favour of anything like this. It'll certainly get my vote. Okay.
Okay. Anybody else?
Are we happy to go ahead with that?
Are we happy to go ahead with that then? Okay, go ahead with that.
Thank you.
Questions to the chair of the Environmental and Wellbeing Committee. No questions? Right. Recommendations made by the Joint Enabling Committee. Community plan. Recommended that the community plan be officially adopted. Rebecca?
If you remember, Martin, JEC put this on the agenda with the intention of us having plenty of time to discuss it. That is obviously not going to happen this evening, and therefore before we even open this debate, I would suggest we defer until the next meeting and we try and put it slightly further up the agenda so that we're fresh when we look at it.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody
Just to
agree?
agree with Rebecca, this is something I think that we need to have a proper conversation about. So could we request to Steve that perhaps it's put before the other committee recommendations next time, and that we can allocate some reasonable amount of time to it.
Okay, anybody else think anything differently? Okay, so we will defer that to the next meeting. Nothing else on the agenda? I'm happy then to call this meeting to an end. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye all.
Bye.